the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our apologies to those of you who tried to join us over Zoom today and live stream. Unfortunately, with everyone being at home and the internet being used beyond its normal capacity, we do not have the luxury of live streaming right now, so we're searching out a different time that might be possible, or it may be that we just bring you a recording every day. As we are facing this minor little glitch, let us remember to pray for the people who are in the hospitals who are facing a much more major glitch with their resources, or our neighbors who may need resources that they don't have. So for today, to begin, I have a riddle. You know what a riddle is, David? It's where I ask a question and you try and think of the answer. Okay? Are you good at riddles, Ella?
Yeah.
What can climb the highest walls, swim the deepest ocean, fly around the world, and set the prisoner free?
A monkey can climb a wall.
A monkey can climb a wall.
Liberty?
Liberty? Well, liberty is freedom. I'll say it one more time.
A fish.
A fish can swim, but what can do all of these things? Climb the highest wall,
Monkey.
swim the deepest ocean,
Shark.
fly around the world, and
Bird.
set the prisoner free. Courage is definitely...
All of them.
You
Monkey,
did.
Shark and bird.
Yes, you did. So the answer to this particular riddle is imagination. And so imagination is something that will come in very, very useful in the coming... We were talking about St. Patrick, and St. Patrick gave us a very beautiful prayer. So, I bind unto myself today the strong name of the Trinity, by invocation of the same, the three in one and one in three. I bind unto myself today the virtues of the starlit heaven, the glorious sun's life-giving ray. So we're sort of putting on the armor of the heavens, of the sun, the whiteness of the moon at even, which means we're keeping ourselves clean spiritually, the flashing of the lightning free. Ella, sometimes you like to run around and pretend you're wild and free, right? So the flashing of the lightning free. The whirling winds, tempestuous shocks, the stable earth, the deep salt sea, around the old eternal rocks. I bind unto myself today the power of God to hold and lead, his eye to watch, his might to stay, his ear to hearken to my need, the wisdom of my God to teach, his hand to guide, his shield to ward, the word of God to give me speech, his heavenly host to be my guard. So St. Patrick wrote in a time when they had a practice in the scriptures of what's called illumination. Illumination is, and I'm sorry, our printer only printed in black and white this morning, but you can see, Ella, wouldn't that be really fun to design? Beautiful, beautiful designs. I'll give you this one and you can color it if you want while we're working, or this one. So you can see, yep, we'll find it later. You can see they took the text. Around the text, they drew all kinds of beautiful nature designs, you know, natural designs, patterns. And you'll notice Ella has this really lovely lap desk that we like to use. But if you don't have one of those available, I'm just going to make you one. I am going to use my imagination, and I'm going to make a lap desk for David. There's my pillow, and there's my hard surface. And I have made a lap desk for David. There we go. I will post the text of St. Patrick's breastplate online. We have started a blog called bringbackhop2020.com. And all of the resources that we talk about in our show will be available on the blog slowly but slowly, because we are a little busy around here. So the text will be available online. If you want to take it and design your illumination around it, that would be a really lovely thing to do. And share them with us in the comment section of the video on the blog. I'm going to share our next chapter of Satchkin Patchkin. And those of you who are joining us, as you can see, Ella and David came prepared with their drawing utensils. You are more than welcome to draw and make beautiful art while we are sharing our stories together. This is chapter 2 of Satchkin Patchkin. Who will mend the thatch? Once upon a time, there was a little green magic man. His name was Satchkin Patchkin, and he lived like a leaf in an apple tree. The apple tree grew by the hedge at the bottom of a long, untidy garden. At the other end of the long, untidy garden was the small, untidy cottage where Mother Farthing lived. Its windows were cracked, its doors hung askew, and the thatch on its tilted roof needed mending. One wild night, one wet night, poor Mother Farthing lay in her narrow bed, listening to the rain dripping in through the roof and the wind whistling in through the windows. If only I had a little more gold when my cow was sold, she thought, I could at least have had the leaking roof repaired. All about the bedroom floor were buckets and bowls. The old woman had put them there to catch the water that dripped and splashed and streamed through the tattered thatch. I must do something about the draft, she thought, shivering under her blankets. The wild wind whistled in through the cracks in the casement, billowing the faded curtains, rattling the bedroom door. Mother Farthing climbed out of bed, picked up the old rug from the floor, and went towards the window. Beautiful. As she struggled to hang the rug on the hooks in the frame, she saw in the half-light the windy waste of her long, untidy garden. Dark in the dark above the hedge rose the tossed and tormented shapes of the apple tree. Dear me, cried the old woman, forgetting the rug and the rain and the rattling, chattering cold. The little green magic man must be having a terrible time out there tonight. She snatched up a blanket from the bed, flung it about her shoulders, and stumbled her way down the crooked stairs to the kitchen. As she drew the bolt on the big, ill-fitting back door, the wind came roaring in, sending the poor woman staggering in a scatter of chilly rain. She clung to the door handle, crying into the night,
Satchkin, Patchkin, hear me with the latchkin. Satchkin, Patchkin, hear me with the latch.
There was a sudden silence, and out of the silence a voice like the sound of a far-off bell said, You have forgotten to throw the thimble into the jug.
It was not milk I wanted,
answered Mother Farthing.
I was going to ask you to come into the chimney corner for the night. I saw your tree bent by the wind and thought how cold you must be.
That was a kindly thought, said the little green magic man, flitting like a moth from floor to table. I was snug enough, though, curled up in a crack in the trunk, well away from the wind.
You're better off than I was then,
sighed the old woman.
My roof leaks and the room is full of rain.
Will your landlord not repair it? asked Satchkin Patchkin.
No, said the old woman. He is a lean man, a mean man, a man without a smile. He takes his rent and does nothing for his tenants.
Leave him to me, said the little green magic man. Go back to your bed and hide your head and try to sleep a little. Then he was gone, and with his going the silence went out of the night and the wind and the rain returned. Back in her damp and draughty room, the old woman covered her head with the bedclothes and shut her eyes for sleep. Out in the darkness, the little green magic man flashed like a spear of lightning to the farmhouse high on the hill. He banged on the stout oak door like the drums of thunder. Who's there? Roared the farmer, rolling out of the feathery depths of his bed. He went to the window and pressed his face against the rain-streaked glass. There was a sudden silence, and out of the silence a voice like a faint far bell called clearly, Satchkin Patchkin, who will mend the thatchkin? Satchkin Patchkin, who will mend the thatch? What thatch? Bellowed the farmer. Mother Farthing's thatch, came the answer. Her cottage is leaking and creaking and lets in the wind and the rain. The farmer thumped his fist angrily on the windowsill. What care I for the wind and the rain in an old woman's tumble-down cottage, he cried. Tell her that she must mend the roof herself. Be off with you now, and let me get back to my bed. Away went the little green magic man, and away went the spell of silence. The wind howled, and a flurry of rain beat at the farmhouse windows. Grunting and grumbling, the farmer went stumbling back to his silk-quilted bed. His wife stirred in her sleep, pulling her pillow down into the hollow she had made in the feather-filled mattress. She slept deep. She slept warm. She did not hear the storm. In her narrow bed, under her shabby blankets, Mother Farthing was not asleep. She heard the storm begin again after the strange, small silence, and she knew it had something to do with the little green magic man.
What mysteries is he at now, she wondered. What spell has he put on the night?
Hardly had the thought come into her head when the room was filled with light. A white light, a bright light that shone in every corner. It showed the old woman the rain coming in through the roof in a dozen different places. Then the light went out, and the voice of Satchkin Patchkin said, close to her ear, Satchkin Patchkin, I will mend the thatchkin. Satchkin Patchkin, I will mend the thatch. At once there was a tearing and a roaring, and all the old thatch went soaring up into the sky. The old woman shrieked and covered her face with the pillow. "Have no fear," said the little green magic man softly. "You will come to no harm, I promise you." At this, the old woman took the pillow away from her face. Through the rafters above her head, she could see the sky. It was cloudless and clear and full of splendid stars. The rain had stopped, and the wind had died down to a whisper. The little green magic man leapt from the bed and drifted, frail as a feather, onto the window. He turned himself round and on the breath of the wind and cried, "Satchkin, Patchkin, come and mend the thatchkin. Satchkin, Patchkin, come and mend the thatch." In the grass, in the leaves, the wind began to move. Over the meadows and through the woods, up the hill and into the farmyard it blew. From the barns, from the sheds, from the cows' very beds, it swept up the strands of straw. Imagine those poor cows. How do they feel?
They're in the farm.
They're in the farm, and imagine the cow is sleeping, and then all of a sudden, you just feels its bed pulled out from underneath it. What do you think, David? What would the cow say? A stack from the barns, from the sheds, from the cows' very beds, it swept up the strands of straw. A stack toppled and fell, straw streamed down the hill in the wind that was turning around. The old woman, watching the sky, saw the straw cloud coming and sat up in bed with a cry of surprise. She watched as the wind took the straw stem by stem and set it straight. Such a tidy wind. Then, threading and winding and twisting and binding itself, the straw took the shape of a roof. High in the sky it hung for a moment, shimmering under the stars. Then it came down on the rafters with no more noise than a counterpane covering a bed, which is an old-fashioned word for a bedspread. With a last little sigh, the wind rustled into the grass. "Sleep well," said the little green magic man from the windowsill. Then he stepped through a broken pane and drifted into the garden. As she slipped into sleep, the old woman thought she could still hear him calling. From a long way away, he seemed to say, "My name is Satchkin Patchkin, and I live like a leaf in the apple tree." All right, David, are you ready for Baa Baa Black Sheep?
Wait.
All right, while they're finishing coloring up, I'm going to teach us a new little song. And you have to have your fingers ready. So if your fingers are not quite done with their drawing, that's okay. You can just listen. But the song goes like this. A birdie with a yellow bill hopped upon my windowsill, cocked his shining eye and said, "Ain't you shamed, you sleepy head?" Again. A birdie with a yellow bill. Now you try. A birdie with a yellow bill hopped upon my windowsill, hopped upon my windowsill, cocked his shining eye and said, "Ain't you shamed, you sleepy head? Ain't you shamed, you sleepy head?" All right, so now David's ready, and we're going to do Baa Baa Black Sheep. Baa Baa Black Sheep, have you any wool? Yes, sir, 3 bags full. And I did that a little bit differently today, so let's do it again one more time, David. Baa Baa Black Sheep, have you any wool? Yes, sir, 3 bags full. Should we show them the other part, Ella? 1 for my master, 1 for my dame, 1 for the little boy who lives down the lane. So let's do 1 for the little boy again. 1 for the little boy who lives down the lane. Baa Baa Black Sheep. Okay. Baa Baa Black Sheep, have you any... You're doing it wrong again. Okay. Baa Baa Black Sheep. As you can see, this can keep you busy for a while.
Yeah.
So, Baa Baa Black Sheep, have you any wool? My bad. Yes, sir. Okay, let's start from the beginning and see if we can do the whole thing correctly. You ready? Baa Baa Black Sheep, have you any wool? Yes, sir, yes, sir. 3 bags full.
There we go.
1 for my master, 1 for my dame, 1 for the little boy who lives down the lane. Baa Baa Black Sheep, have you any wool? Yes, sir, yes, sir. 3 bags full. Bravo! Okay.
Ow,
So-
my arms hurt now.
Now, we have a poem.
I am sitting in the middle of a very muddy puddle with my bottom full of bubbles and my rubbers full of mud. While my jacket and my sweater go on slowly getting wetter,
As I very slowly settle to the bottom of the mud,
and I find that when a person
with a puddle round his middle,
thinks of mostly in the muddle,
is the muddiness of mud. And on that thought, because we are coming to spring, and when we do get outside for a little bit,
there's a lot of mud.
there is a lot of mud. And what grows in the mud? Well, all kinds of things. And sometimes we look out and we see the mud and we think, oh, it's just mud, there's nothing
Grub.
there. But there's lots and lots of seeds and
it makes grub.
yep. And if we did a little experiment, which you can do in your house too. I'm sure you probably have dried beans, and we had corn seeds too. And this is kind of a fun thing to do. We wet a paper towel, and
Corn run away.
we have a little corn, right? And
See,
here's
a
yeah,
corn.
don't hide it. Yeah, I mean, don't. So we have this, and we think, oh my goodness, that's just a piece of corn, right? We could eat it and be done with it. But just a kernel of corn, right? What could possibly be in there? There's an entire corn plant in there. Many of you know this, and it's quite, you say, oh, of course there's a corn plant in there. But it's really cool to look and to see
And now
as
I'll
it
show
opens up.
you a week later.
Yeah, it's a week later, and you can see it has actually several parts. It has the root part, it has the green part that's going to be the grass. And did you know corn is actually a grass? And the other interesting thing about corn, Ella, did you know this? That every single kernel of corn on a corn
Makes
cob
an ear.
doesn't make it on an ear of corn. Every single piece of silk on a corn cob is connected to one particular kernel on that cob, and that's how the seeds come to be. Is from each kernel on a cob has its own.
And now I'm gonna show you.
Yep. So
Wait,
the other thing,
show the
oh my goodness, here's our bean,
It's
and look at this bean. This is really cool. It's stuck. Why is it stuck, do you think, Ella? What's it doing here?
Because the roots are entwined in the paper towel.
So the roots are already starting to try and
it's
find.
kind of like the Easter grass.
Yeah, exactly. So we can actually take this, and we will take this, put it in a little bit of potting soil and plant it, and it will grow into a lovely bean plant. And you can see, again, how is this, all of this, wrapped up in this tiny little bean, right? Isn't that amazing? Oops, careful, Dava.
David, you can't take it out.
Yeah, we can't take it out because it's stuck. See how he's, and these are laying down because we put them in a sunny spot in the windowsill, but this is a really fun project that you can do.
It's kind of like Jack's beanstalk.
Yeah, Jack and the beanstalk. Where's Jack? How small would Jack have to be on this beanstalk?
He'd be smaller than a borrower.
He would be
Like
small.
about as big as, like smaller than an ant.
He would, yeah, he would be.
eat the corn.
You want to know when you can eat the corn? It'll be months and months before you can eat the corn.
Yeah, because you have to plant the corn.
Yeah. So we're gonna take this and put it in a safe spot. Yeah. Nope, we can't eat that one either. So if you don't have seeds.
I'll take this and put it back in the window.
Okay, so Ella's going to take this and put it back in the window, and we will plant it, and maybe in a week or so we will show you our planting.
Oh.
Why did I show you a bean? Because our boredom buster for today, Ella, are you ready for this?
Bean bag.
Is bean bags. come and tell us how we would make a beanbag, Ella.
You put a bunch of beans in a Ziploc bag.
Uh-huh.
Sew a pocket with scraps of fabric. But leave one slit open in the top. Insert the beanbag, the bag of beans.
Well, you'll notice these are not the size of a Ziploc bag. These are small and compact, and they're really fun to throw around.
Can we play
So,
And juggle.
yep, there is a
But I'm really bad at juggling.
when we're done. There is a fun game, and I'm going to challenge. Nope. Everybody gets one.
Beanbag toss.
I'm going to challenge you guys. We can play beanbag toss, which is you throw it at
Let's throw it over the camera.
No.
Let's not
Okay,
do that
settle
ever.
down. You throw.
I can throw it a pie.
Hey guys.
Watch.
Okay.
Throw
So
a pie.
there are two games that once you have made your beanbag, and you can make it out of a Ziploc bag, like the cameraman suggested. You can make it out of a cloth bag if you're handy with a needle and thread.
Or with a sewing machine.
Or with a sewing machine, and you can fill it. You can fill it with plastic beads. You can fill it with beans. You can fill it with rice. Again, this is where you get creative. Once you have made your beanbag, or beanbags, a couple of them.
If you do it with paper, then it won't hurt you.
But the problem with doing it with filling it with paper is that it's too light. You want something that has a little weight on it so that it will throw nicely. And now, here is the first rule of anything that we do here on the Children's Corner. My children have my permission to be doing the things that we're doing on Children's Corner.
Get adults' permission first.
Exactamundo. Thank you, Ella.
Or don't.
So, once you have your...
Beanbag on your head.
Okay, guys, stop. Once you have your beanbag, there's a couple of games that we can play that we'll suggest for you, and then you make up your own games with beanbags, and again, post them to bringbackhope2020.com. So, the first game is simply, you have a variety of targets, and you can use laundry baskets, you can
Top of
use
the stairs.
buckets, you can use pretty much anything that can catch
far away.
that can catch your beanbag. So you're throwing it.
like that.
Oh, Ella just made it onto the couch. So the second game is a little more challenging, and it's called Popcorn. And you can play this with a group of people, and we had hoped to play this on Zoom today with you, but we're going to play it now and show you how it works. So it goes, the first person, and I'm going to have to move here, my chair. The first person throws the beanbag up in the air and claps once. The second person tries to do the same thing. Now,
The first person is me.
yep. And if you throw it up in the air and you miss, guess what? Everybody has to either, you can decide. You can say, I'm going to do 10 hops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Everybody has to do it. Because I dropped my beanbag.
This is physical activity. It's highly
Or
discouraged.
5 times spin.
Okay, 5 times spin. So,
Question from the audience.
what?
Why wouldn't somebody just drop the beanbag and make everyone suffer? On purpose. Most people do that.
Because that's not what we do in families.
All right.
Okay,
Get a
so,
full me.
so,
So this is how you do it.
yep. Throw it up and clap, David. Uh-oh. Okay, so we have to jump in place 5 times. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now Ella, you got to clap twice. Throw it up and clap twice. Oh, we have to do 5. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, my turn. Oh no! Okay, you ready? Ready? Okay, you ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, David, your turn. We got to clap twice. Uh-oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you get the idea, and every time, oh, no, 3 times. 3 times now.
But hey!
Oh, 3 is hard. No. Okay,
I did it.
so you get the idea.
I did it.
This is a really, really fun game,
I'm
but,
gonna try it again. It's kind of like Jack's.
yeah, it is like Jack's.
I did it.
Okay, so this is a game that you can play by yourself. So now we're going to close with just a short section from Iville to Uville. And Stubborn, remember, has met someone outside the city gates, and we don't know who she is. And turning, he saw, oh, sorry. Hi, friend, said a voice. Stubborn jumped. Turning, he saw a girl sitting on a bench outside the city walls. "Hi to you too," he replied, and stepped outside. This was the first time he had ever ventured beyond the city walls. "You're definitely not from here. I've never seen you before." "I'm just passing through. I came with my dad and I'm waiting for him." Stubborn didn't want to miss the chance to show off, so he challenged her to a race. "Do you want to race me to that tree over there?" "Sure, I need to stretch my legs after sitting so long." Sometimes we feel that way, right? "Great, get up. On the count of 3, go."
I feel.
They took their places. 1, 2, 3, go! It was a long way to the tree. Stubborn and the girl were running side by side most of the way, but as they came to a finish, Stubborn won by an inch. "Well done," exclaimed the girl, and shook his hand. "You run like the wind." "At last," thought Stubborn, "someone who recognizes what I'm worth." "Actually," he replied, "I really am the best runner. I wish some other people would have heard you say that." "Hey, you haven't told me your name." "Serenity. What's yours?" Do you know what serenity means? It means calm or peace. Stubborn. Out of breath, they sat down under a tree. "You know, Serenity, before we met, I was really upset. I was about to blow my top." "I thought so." "I thought so when I saw you in the doorway. You know, being angry makes people wild. You look much nicer now that you're not upset." I think we can all agree with that, right? "How could I not get angry? Do you know how my friends treat me?" He began to tell her his problems. Serenity listened to him carefully while he talked and talked and talked. They hardly realized how quickly and pleasantly the time had passed until Serenity's father came. "Honey," he said, "we have to leave right away. Let me introduce you to my new friend."
I want some milk.
"Are you from Iville?" Serenity's father asked Stubborn. Here's the picture of Stubborn and Serenity under the tree, and there's the walled city of
Mama,
Iville.
Mama, wait, go back.
Yeah?
Who is that?
That's Stubborn.
That's you, David.
"Of course I am," he replied. "Where else could I be from?" Serenity's father smiled and ruffled the boy's hair. Stubborn invited them home, but Serenity's father was in a great hurry, so he took Serenity by the hand and left quickly. As he watched Serenity leave, Stubborn became irritated because her father had not accepted his invitation. Stubborn did not like people saying no to him. David, do you like it when Mommy tells you no? No. Serenity turned around and waved goodbye. Stubborn smiled. He tried to hide his anger because he wanted to seem like he was in control of himself. Suddenly, it occurred to him that he had not asked her where she was from. "Serenity, where do you live?" She turned and, cupping her hands to her mouth, shouted loudly, "Youville, come and find me." These last words, "Youville, come and find me," hung in the air, echoing off the cliffs. Stubborn watched them until they disappeared around the bend in the road. So, let's close, and I have for us a new prayer today. It's a wonderful prayer that we will be learning.
That's the end.
Yep, it's the end. We'll be learning little bit by little bit, and the first line is simply, "Christ be with me." So, I leave you with that. Christ be with me.